2 minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast.
What's up, guys? Welcome into it. Happy Monday. Ready to set that tone, do the thing for the week. Really excited about today's show. It's going to be a fun one. Kent Strang will be on the program. He's the managing director for our partners over at Americans for Prosperity. We're going to talk about their affordability campaign and prosperity is possible campaigns that are going on, trying to get the economy and the American dream back on track. We have that, plus we have the New York City attacks, and we have the SAVE Act. Where are we at with the SAVE Act? That is still working its way through Congress in some fashion, or at least we're trying to in some fashion. So we'll cover some of that and more. Make sure to like it out, share it out, leave that comment, break the algorithm. Let's do this thing for a Monday. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, hang tight. Here we go.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Broadcasting from the heart of the nation, the next generation in conservative talk radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Why, yes, it is. What is up, my friends? Welcome into it. Happy Monday. Ready to rock and roll. Set that tone for the entire week. We are excited. We are pumped up. We're going to carpe diem all over this place, which is what we do on the show each and every day. Super exciting. Starting tomorrow on Tuesday, we are officially syndicated on satellite for this weekday program. We have a few new affiliates ready to jump on board right out of the gates. I cannot wait to announce that. So get ready for tomorrow. But today is Monday. That is tomorrow. Today is today. And we're ready to rock and roll for the day as well, setting that tone for the whole week, which is what we do here on this show. Kent Strang coming up at the bottom of the hour. He is the managing director for our friends over at Americans for Prosperity, and we're going to talk about their brand new campaign working on affordability, prosperity, and the American dream on what we can do during this 250th birthday of this nation. So looking forward to chatting with him in just a little bit. But until then, as usual, welcome aboard, broadcasting out of the heart of the nation in Wichita, Kansas, on our flagship radio station. But we are all over so many great radio affiliates across the country already doing our thing.
Do it live!
Like we do every single day here on the program. Before we go any further, of course, we have plenty to talk about from the weekend. Donald Trump's Shield of America, which we came out with a brand new audio clip that we will play here in just a bit. One of our new sound effects that we will use on probably frequent occasion. Just to warn you, you'll probably get annoyed by it because I find it absolutely hilarious. If you did not hear the speech on Saturday, it was probably one of Donald Trump's most entertaining speeches I've ever heard him say. Absolutely hilarious. So we'll get to some of that. Plus we have the what's going on today, the SAVE Act. Chuck Schumer making a statement saying that there's no way whatsoever, no way, no how we're going to pass the SAVE Act in this nation, when Donald Trump said, yeah, we kind of need to make that one happen. So we'll see what direction we go there. Also, of course, the bomb threats and the terrorism happening on the East Coast. That's where I want to start with the program today.
What's trending today?
Or according to the New York City Police Department's commissioner, they say that they are fighting terrorism now like they haven't seen in a while.
Inspired by ISIS to carry out their attack. There should be no confusion about what ISIS constitutes. It is a designated foreign terrorist organization responsible for deadly terrorist attacks across the globe and has taken credit for mass casualty attacks in Europe, the Middle East, and right here in the United States. And as alleged, both defendants have admitted that they acted on Saturday because of ISIS.
Because of ISIS. So here's the thing, and there's a few ways we can take this, and I'm really sad because as we learn more about politics and we go deeper down the rabbit holes and we build our larger and larger tinfoil hats for conspiracy theories, there's a couple different ways that we can take this issue. And let's talk about how cynical that unfortunately we've become in society on how we just don't trust anybody. Now, obviously, as we've seen, we saw one terror attack that was near the residence of Mayor Zohran Mamdani, where that one was where she was referring to with this individual, the suspect that was arrested, where apparently the alleged bomber had planned an assault, quote, bigger than the Boston Marathon bombing by a guy by the name of Emir Balat, I believe is how you pronounce his name, alleged to make the statement during his arrest where prosecutors say he told investigators that that he and his co-defendant, which I cannot pronounce, Ibrahim something, wanted to stage an attack exceeding the 2013 bombing, killing 3 people and injuring more than 500 others. This hat tip, by the way, from Fox News. On this story, the complaint alleges that on Saturday that Balat and Qayyumi attempted to detonate 2 apparent explosive devices during a Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City protest and counter-protest near the Mamdani residence. Now, one of them, from what I heard, was something like a suitcase that caught fire that was going to explode. The other one was supposed to explode like nails or something and harm a bunch of people, and they were able to put these guys into custody. Now, I find this very kind of strange, and again, this is maybe the cynical side of me coming out, where I'm glad we caught them. I'm glad no one was really injured, including, yes, even Zohran Mamdani. As much as we despise his politics, we do not want anybody to be harmed, right? We're not that type of individual, unlike a certain side that calls for the death of Donald Trump and all of his MAGA supporters, right? We're a little bit different. I despise Zohran Mamdani. I think that he is probably the worst ideological thing that can happen to this nation, and we're watching the socialist experiment take over in New York, but I do not want him harmed. So these terror attacks are really unfortunate. And there's 2 ways you can look at this. Number one is that we have the ongoing war with Iran right now that is ending radicalism in the Middle East. And unfortunately, that radicalism is now not really seen in the Middle East. It's not in Egypt any longer. It's not in Turkey any longer. It's not in Saudi Arabia. It's not in the United Arab Emirates. It's not in those places. We've de-radicalized the Middle East for the most part. Most of them have traveled to the United Kingdom and to the United States, which means now we're starting to, according to what we've seen on social media over the weekend, is the NSA and the federal government has been intercepting different conversations, activating quote-unquote terror cells in the United States to come after because of the attacks that we've had on Iran. And it's triggered these activations of these terror cells that we know were in the United States and that we're monitoring now to hopefully catch more of these bad guys before they do something horrendous across the nation. And we knew it was kind of going to happen, so the timing of it kind of makes sense on, what's happening in Iran compared to what we're going to see here. And my theory, we talked about this with my weekly guest appearance on Armed American Radio with Mark Walters, where my prediction is...
Andy's prediction
is the fact that we're going to see this for a short amount of time because it's going to happen in sequence, and it's not going to wait another 5 years. If they're de-radicalizing now and the war's going on now, it's going to be a sequence of one after the other, after the other, after the other. I could be wrong on that, but that would be my theory, is that they're going to do all of this here within probably the next few weeks as this conflict goes on in the Middle East. There is something else, however, that is quite conveniently happening at the exact same time, and this is where the cynicism comes into play, and you can put on whatever tinfoil hat theory that you want, is that, ironically, while we're intercepting these messages, and while we're stopping these terror cells in the United States from activating and doing harm in the United States, is ironically the exact same time that the FISA warrants are up for renewal at the federal level. And if you don't know what the FISA warrants are, the FISA bill is essentially funding the FISA courts that are not part of the public. It's these backdoor courts that allow them to surveil people that they deem to be potential threats to the nation or to the government, which means no privacy. It's what we passed during the Patriot Act in the early 2000s. And ironically, the funding for this bill is coming up at the exact same time that all of this stuff is going on. I'm not saying, and I want to be very clear, I am not saying that these terror threats and these terrorist activities within the United States are being plotted and caused by the government in order to try and pass the FISA warrants that say, look, we need these because look at what's going on. I am saying, however, never let a crisis go to waste. Right? Take full advantage of the situation and try and promote the fact that, hey, we need to continue on with these FISA courts and this data collection and the metadata collection and everything else that we've allowed to happen for the past 20 years since the passage of the Patriot Act after 9/11, where they say this has been able to prevent many different terror attacks. And according to the leaked information online, we're saying that we're collecting all this data, they're getting all these messages coming in, and they're trying to stop these terror attacks that are happening in the United States. So two things are happening at the same time. We have the activation of terror cells because of the conflict with Iran, the Ayatollah or whatever terrorist regime that wants to be activated to try and fight back internally on our own soil, and the government is like, yeah, we gotta need this information to collect your data so we can continue to prevent these types of things, and they're happening coincidentally right at the same time. I find that kind of interesting. Now, that being said, that ties into the SAVE Act.
What's trending today?
Oh, yes, Andy, wait a second. What does voter ID have to do with terror attacks and data collection and the FISA? Well, right now we're dealing with two different major bills. We're waiting on Congress to do a lot of things right now. Congress isn't doing a whole lot of things right now. We still need to refund Department of Homeland Security, ironically, Border Patrol and TSA and FEMA, which FEMA is running out of money right now because they don't have any funding. All of this under the Department of Homeland Security. We did the regime change with who's the secretary for DHS to Mark Wayne Mullen. That's going to happen at the end of this month, the transition. Kristi Noem, where the Democrats wrapped up last week saying, ha, we got her. We got rid of Kristi Noem. She was fired. She wasn't fired. In fact, she got a bit of a promotion. If you paid attention this past weekend, Donald Trump has created the Shield of Americas, which is him along with 12 other Central American, South American nations wanting to fight terrorism, wanting to fight cartels, wanting to get rid of gun trafficking, human trafficking, drug smuggling, all this stuff all over this region. Down in Mexico, Central America, South America, we're fighting it and we're going to end it. Donald Trump has now deemed himself to be the one that wants to try and end this massive corruption in our entire hemisphere and working with many nations across Central and South America in order to do so. And it was pretty entertaining. In fact, I have to play the clip because it is one of our new favorite clips now. He was at this meeting that happened in Miami on Saturday. We got to cover it live on our program, on our syndicated Blowtorch on Saturday afternoons, and was talking to many of these leaders and was talking about the precision of our military and how great the bombs were, and say, hey, if you find we're in one of these terror cells or cartel cells, just let us know. Ask for a missile, we'll provide it.
And terror, and some of you are in danger. I mean, you're actually in danger. It's hard to believe. But we're working with you to do whatever we have to do. We'll use missiles. If you want us to use a missile, they're extremely accurate.
And?
Boom. Right into the living room.
I'm sorry. I don't know why. I don't know why that is, to me, the most entertaining clip that I've ever heard of Donald Trump. Hey, what are you going to do today? As soon as the TV show's on, what are you going to do?
Boom. Right into the living room.
I'm sorry. It's so stupid, but it's so funny. Donald Trump making the sound of a missile. Hey, what are you going to do for dinner tonight when your TV show's on?
Boom. Right into the living room.
That's right. So, yeah, get ready. I'm going to annoy the hell out of you on that audio clip. But that that was the Shield of Americas this weekend, talking to these nations with Nayib Bukele out of El Salvador and Javier Milei out of Argentina and all these other countries, not coincidentally with Mexico being there, because Mexico has a major cartel issue that they're in a civil war with, and we need to work from the outside to assist them in cleansing their nation away from this garbage so that way we can help them get back on track. That being said, what does all this have to do with the SAVE Act and the FISA? Well, according to Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, she has made the announcement that they will not pass the FISA funding and the renewal of FISA out of the House of Representatives unless the SAVE Act is attached to it. Because right now we have Chuck Schumer and the Democrats that hold just enough votes in the Senate to say, no, we're not going to pass the SAVE Act unless we end up ending the filibuster, which apparently, according to John Thune and the others, there's still not an appetite for it. I don't know why. And we're not even trying to utilize it. Like, force them to do that. When we have an 80% approval rating for something like the SAVE Act and voter ID in this nation, and even Democrats are against it, make them look foolish going into a midterm election by forcing them to play out and actually activate the filibuster. Do it. And make them look foolish. But we're not. And Chuck Schumer's like, nope, we're not going to.
The SAVE Act will not pass because it is such a pernicious, nasty, piece of legislation. The SAVE Act is Jim Crow 2.0. More than 20 million people would lose their right to vote.
Okay, how stupid is that? That is the dumbest remark ever, and they're losing on this issue. When every poll, including Democrats at a 78% rate, approve the idea of voter ID, approve the idea of the SAVE Act, they want to see it done. Everybody wants to see it done. Every demographic, every gender, every made-up gender, everybody except for the few radicals out there do not want to see voter ID, but everybody else does, and Democrats are putting up their wall. So we have two options now. We can force the filibuster, which I think should be done and should have been done a long time ago to pass the SAVE Act, or we attach the SAVE Act to the FISA, and then you put it back on Democrats in that way and say, if you want FISA and the renewal of these super secret government courts to allow you to collect metadata on the American citizen because it's for security, then guess what? You also have to pass for the SAVE Act. That's called compromise, and that's not something Democrats like to do when they're the ones that are forced to compromise and actually work with Republicans, but force their hand either way and do it now.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
When America builds, the world follows. Our energy powered the 20th century. We've set the standard for generations, and we never waited for permission. But now, we're being held back. Outdated rules, endless delays. Without permitting reform, Washington's red tape is slowing us down while other nations race ahead. It doesn't have to be this way. We can clear the way for energy that's affordable, reliable, and built right here. Because what's built here is felt here. Lower costs, more jobs, stronger communities. That's what permitting reform makes possible. Energy didn't just shape our country, it powered the American dream. And with our innovation, we can lead the 21st century. Congress has a choice. Build America's energy future or risk falling behind. Tell Congress, pass permitting reform now.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left finds new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back. And that's where we can help. Head to our website at HooserReason.com. There you can find our latest blog discussing topical issues of the day. Let us know your thoughts on current events with different surveys and chat rooms. And keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Plus, when you head to the website, you can always get great deals and different offers from all of our great radio partners. Finally, if you want more of the show, you can find our podcasts with all of our great episodes and your favorite guests. And make sure to check out the latest Voice of Reason infomercials and maybe some other special content. And it's all because of you being part of the Hoosier-holic family. Let's continue to fight for conservative common sense principles together by going to HooserReason.com. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
What fuels the freedom to dream bigger? How did two guys in a cramped California garage reimagine the phone and put the power of the universe at our fingertips? At Americans for Prosperity, we believe greatness can happen anywhere. We just need freedom and the opportunity to make it real. But today, with a rigid system stifling progress, limiting creativity, and holding us back. That's why at AFP, we offer solutions that tackle the most critical challenges facing our country, so there's nothing standing in the way of America's next breakthrough. Because what we build today doesn't just shape the future, it defines it. How will you be defined? Take your first step today with Americans for Prosperity.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever, every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Switch today and get 1 month of service absolutely free by going to patriotmobile.com/reason.
When reason meets radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Yeah, it is. What's up? Welcome back into it. It is your Monday here for the Voice of Reason. Great to have you. Speaking of, by the way, as we push the SAVE Act and trying to put pressure on Congress, specifically the Senate, to either do something, activate the filibuster or attach it to the FISA or whatever, the SAVE Act is the biggest thing. And in fact, if you go to social media and look at Donald Trump's account on Truth Social, almost all of his posts lately have been about the SAVE Act, and in fact had mentioned that he will be signing no other bills or legislation until the SAVE Act gets to his desk. And right now, let's go live to it. He's actually speaking at the Congressional Institute to Republican members of Congress, I'm assuming advocating for the passage of the SAVE Act as well.
And we're stopping it. We want people to be able to buy a house. It's the American dream. Buying a house is a part of the American dream. And we must also stand up for the safety of our citizens. One of my guests at the State of the Union was Anya Zarutska, the mother of beautiful 23-year-old Ukrainian girl who was stabbed to death on a train in North Carolina by a deranged criminal, arrested more than a dozen times. And I had the mother, as you know, at the State of the Union, and she was devastated. Beautiful woman, devastated. Uncontrollably devastated, and we couldn't get one Democrat to even clap. The Republicans clapped and went wild, and they loved her. Not one Democrat in that whole room even thought about clapping. They sat there frozen-faced, disgusting. House Republicans should get every member of Congress on record and pass a tough new crime bill that imposes harsh penalties for dangerous repeat offenders, which this nut was, cracks down on rogue judges and prosecutors, and ends no cash bail once and for all. No cash bail is a big part. I mean, you have a man murder somebody, and by that afternoon, he's out on bail.
All right, I'm glad he's mentioning that. We'll go back to that in just a minute here. No cash bail is a really big one, and we spent some time into it here on the program. I'm glad he's talking to members of the Republican Party right now. We're going into a midterm election, and as you know, we've talked about it quite a bit, that the activity or the lack thereof of Republicans in Congress forcing the hands of the Democrats in some fashion, making them be the ones to stick their neck out and look really foolish. Look, we still have a government shutdown partially through the Department of Homeland Security. Where is the media blasts on Democrats saying, hey, the reason that TSA is going to slow down, the reason that we have some major issues with security at the southern border, the reason that we're not seeing as many deportations, the reason that we may see crime, start to spike again in communities around the nation is because of the defunding of the Department of Homeland Security, because Democrats don't want to keep you safe, because they want to put the pressure on you, the American people, because they don't want to fund something, because they think that it's all about ICE and all the travesties, whatever else. I'm glad that Donald Trump's speaking to Republicans right now at this Congressional Institute and calling it out. Look, if we're going to win the midterms, this is what you have to do. We have to be harsh. We have to be vigilant. We have to push really hard and put the pressure on them to actually get it done. And the SAVE Act's part of that. Tie it into the FISA thing, although I don't like that because I don't like FISA in the first place, or force them to do a filibuster. I don't know. One way or the other, man.
Everybody in the room. But keep winning, right? Yeah. 124-0 this Tuesday. 124 wins, no losses. Is that good? And there were some rebels. We endorsed a few rebels, right? A few that Mike was saying, it's going to be a tough one. But we're 124-0. But as president, nobody ever asked me for money. And as president, as president, you sort of don't make campaign contributions, right? It doesn't even. But I heard you were at $19 million today. I said, has that ever been done? No, sir, it's a record, but 20 would sound better, right, Mike? Yes. He said, I'm going to give you $1 million. It's the first time I've done it. I never did it before.
All right, so Donald Trump speaking right now at the Congressional Institute, talking to Republican lawmakers, Republican leaders, putting the hand on and getting ready for midterms. It's going to be a big one, and we have to be prepared for it, and I think it comes down to the fact that we need Republicans in Congress to force some hands and get active and actually show that we're going to do it because we gave you the majorities. They may be slim, but we gave you majorities. Let's start doing something about it. All right, Kent Strang, Americans for Prosperity. We'll talk with him about some of the affordability plans and some campaigns going on during this year. Got a lot to talk about for a Monday. Stay here.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever, every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Switch today and get 1 month of service absolutely free by going to patriotmobile.com/reason.
Truth, reason, and common sense. This is the voice of reason with Andy Hooser.
Every modern president since Reagan has done this in attacks from Syria, Libya, Bosnia, Panama. So it happens continually to give it context. But then the last thing is, the other day I talked about how whereas administrations change and it's always political, I trust often the generals in the military. 74 retired U.S. generals and admirals came out endorsing this operation and saying that since its inception 47 years ago, they have been, this regime has endangered the lives of U.S. troops, diplomats, civilians across the Middle East and here at home. Death to America, death to Israel is a chant they have used over and over. I trust that these career military generals, you can't become a general if you haven't served your whole time. These career generals have seen stuff we have not seen. And the fact that they're coming out to say, you guys, this needed to happen, I do trust that.
Wow, who is that? Is that Hasselbeck lady? Apparently they're doing some changes over at The View. Yeah, that was The View. And boy, you can either hear the bickering hens on the other side, just livid at the fact that they're, actually bringing some reason here. But yeah, that was on The View talking about Iran. This is not an illegal war where it's, we've been doing this for a while. Now, whether that's right or not, we can have that conversation. But we're kind of getting rid of the Mussolini of our time, right? The crazy radical dictator of our time that's created a lot of different terrorism around the world, including what we're starting to see here in the United States as well, which is absolutely insane. One thing that I have found that was quite entertaining, I was watching a clip over the break, was CNN having to admit, because now that gas prices are starting to climb back up because of the conflict in Iran, they had to admit that the gas prices were low from Donald Trump for them to go back up.
Say what?
And they didn't know how to quite do that one. So they had to admit that gas prices were actually low, and in fact lower than what we had seen since the last Trump administration 4 years ago, before we had to admit that they were on the way back up, which leads us to our conversation of what the heck's going on with affordability, the prices of everything, and election season here on the home front as we go to our...
Let's go to the Hoosier Media Hotline.
That's right. Really happy to have on the program with our great friends and partners over at Americans for Prosperity. I always say it's like the show would not be possible without our friends over at AFP, and now with our weekday show now being syndicated on the satellite as well. Great new affiliates starting on the program here over throughout this week. Really happy to have on to talk about all of the crazy shenanigans, the managing director for Americans for Prosperity, great friend here to the program, Mr. Kent Strang. Kent, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Andy. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, always great to chat with you, man. It is a wild time indeed, from the foreign policy and what's happening here on the home front, which they're not completely separated, right? I mean, we're seeing a lot of what's happening out there affect us of what's going on here.
Well, that's certainly right. I think affordability is top of mind for Americans, and as you see gas prices tick up, they're certainly concerned about that. But look, markets hate uncertainty, and they want clarity on when they expect this conflict will come to an end. And look, 20% of the global market of petroleum goes through the Strait of Hormuz. And when that opens up, and that remains to be seen when that will happen, we'll probably see gas prices dip back down. But I'm a big believer that energy security is national security. Yeah. And what you just mentioned is 100% right. Joe Biden, a big hallmark of Bidenomics was failed energy policies. And President Trump repealed over 60 of his failed executive orders, got rid of the Green New Energy scam. Through the working families tax cuts, Republicans made it easier to do off-site exploration and offshore drilling, and they went the complete opposite of those failed policies, because then we're not as reliant on other countries. And then when we have conflicts throughout the world, we don't have to be as reliant on nations to be secure with our energy at home. And look, right now, the United States produces 24 million barrels a day of oil and liquid fuels. That is more than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. Yeah. So we got to keep producing at home. While we have made big progress, we can still remove some of the red tape, some of the outdated regulations, and streamline our permitting process to keep producing at home and drill, baby, drill, bring those gas prices down even further.
It's what it's all about. I'm glad you mentioned how much we're producing a day with 24 million barrels, because at the same time, just to put that into perspective, we consume, from what I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Ken, we consume anywhere between 22 to 23 million barrels a day. I know we've heard the argument from Chuck Schumer now saying that we need to release some of the oil reserves because of the high prices from the issue with Iran right now. Donald Trump tweeted out and saying that the high prices for oil is a small price to pay while we clear off some of the radicalism out there and then we reopen up that port, like you said, whenever that may be. But right now, the fact of the good news is we're producing more than what we consume on a daily basis. And now with the partnership with Venezuela, we get the ports back open again. We're going to see prices crash back down to where they were and actually enjoy some low gas prices again.
Well, I'm certainly not going to go to Chuck Schumer for advice on the Strategic Petroleum Reserve because he and Joe Biden were releasing barrels for political expediency when the gas hit $5. And so, look, again, markets, they absolutely hate the uncertainty that we're seeing. I think, again, once we see the Strait open, once we see how long this conflict lasts, I think things have the potential to go back to normal here. But, again, let's be energy dominant at home, continue to produce at high levels, continue to rely on our strong natural resources, streamline permitting, streamline the red tape, the regulations, and we're going to be doing okay here in America.
Yeah, we're going to be doing okay. I did laugh at that when they're like, we're going to release 1 million barrels a day. I'm like, we consume 22. What the heck is that going to do for us on a regular basis? That was insane. But that leads to what you guys have done now. Going into this year, the 250th birthday, which we talk about your TakeOneSmallStep.com campaign with all the greatness for the potential of Americans and what we've gone throughout history. And now with your Prosperity is Possible and your affordability campaigns, this is racking up to be a really big year with the midterm elections on top of that as well.
Well, it's a fantastic year to get involved with Americans for Prosperity. And look, so many people care deeply about our country, and we were founded on limited government, freedom, rule of law, and it's our principles that make us great. And so there's so much happening in our nation, and there's no reason to sit on the sidelines. Go get involved. And so we have launched an affordability agenda, and what we've done is we've identified a roadmap and specific policy reforms in energy, housing, healthcare, and regulatory policy that we believe will help provide immediate relief for American families. Now, like I said, we've made a lot of significant progress over the last year. But there's more that we can do, and we want to focus on pro-growth policies, driving competition, driving opportunity, and removing barriers so Americans can live their American dream, make life more affordable, put more groceries on the table, and so Americans can continue to grow and thrive and do more than just get by.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of those ideas. Donald Trump speaking right now at the Congressional Institute, talking to Republicans, trying to give them the hoorah speech to be a little more proactive on some of the legislation that we want. But one of the issues that he mentioned during his State of the Union was on the housing market is ending these major companies, the BlackRocks and whatever else, buying up all of these houses and essentially taking away the American dream for people to own their own homes. Are we moving in the right direction when it comes to the housing market? There's a lot of factors there, but is that one of them we need to address?
Sure. I think that's one that Americans are certainly concerned about. We certainly think that there is a zoning and a permitting issue there where there's a state, a local, and a federal problem here. It takes a lot of zoning and a lot of NEPA regulations to be able to build anything in America. It is really hard to put shovels into the ground thanks to all the regulations. We want to be able to lift as many of those as absolutely possible. The other thing that happens is 25% of the cost of a new build is due to the regulatory state. We need to be able to lift that. Then there are also barriers that have to do with out-of-control government spending. Why do we have 6% interest rates? We have 6% interest rates because Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and his allies in Congress spent $5.5 trillion in new spending. That led to 40-year high inflation. And how do you ratchet down inflation? You have to raise interest rates. So when you have 6% interest rates on home loans, it makes it harder to get a loan. And so we certainly have solutions for that. And when it comes to housing, make it easier to put shovels in the ground, make it easier to streamline permitting, make it easier to get permits for zoning where people actually want to live. Yeah. Certainly a concern for a lot of Americans because they want that American dream of being able to build a house.
Yeah, it seems like permitting reform seems to be a main focus on across the board, right? For the housing market and real estate, sure, on where we can actually build, on energy policy, allowing ourselves to drill more. Just the permits and the red tape from government seems to be hindering so much right now.
That's 100% right. And that's also part of the energy problem, too, of there are so many projects. I was in Louisiana late last year, and we were meeting with folks out on offshore wells, and the little town that we were in was talking about whenever there are permits that are able to be had, the whole dock and the whole town is booming. But when they can't get the permits they need, nobody's at work. And so the permits just aren't for the energy exploration. It really does impact these entire communities. And so that it's not just the energy exploration that is meaningful. It's the gas stations and the service industry and the restaurants that all kind of live off of the live or die of these permits. And so we want it to be safe. We want the environmental concerns to be addressed, certainly, but at the same time, we want to streamline those processes to make it easier for folks to be able to get the energy we need to lower electricity costs for that.
Yeah, amen to that. We're talking with Kent Strang. He's the managing director for our friends over at Americans for Prosperity, americansforprosperity.org, America's largest grassroots organization, and you can see where your chapter is in your area. Let's talk about going into midterms and the mindset of people right now. Like you said, affordability is an important issue. I love the other side. They tried to use that as a talking point, and then we started seeing affordability actually being addressed, and they've kind of gotten rid of that term. They still try to use it backhandedly, but it's not really a main focal point for them any longer. So we got to take a break here, but when we come back, let's talk about what we're doing with the boots on the ground. You guys have been campaigning and knocking doors in the millions, which is amazing, and where the mindset of people is right now and what they want to see fixed and how we can get to that point, especially going into a crazy midterm season that we're going to see. So we'll do that when we come back around the corner with Kent Strang, Managing Director for Americans for Prosperity. Also, the oil reserves that are still building up right now, we can be a little bit more energy independent. We can be, we saw the move for the data centers, allowing them to produce their own energy to where we're not straining off the grid. A lot of crazy changes happening that we didn't really think would happen, and it's going to benefit us really well in the long haul. We'll cover some of that and more when we come back around the corner. Stay here.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Big government is broken. Every year, politicians fail to pass a budget as the deficit continues to grow. Every month, unelected bureaucrats pile on rules no one voted for, strangling our economy. And every day, DC's broken system gets in the way of the American dream. Washington isn't working, and the people pay the price. At Americans for Prosperity, we believe it's time to fix the system. Now, join the movement to make government work.
Hey, did you know that you can have multiple different networks on one single smartphone? Well, with Patriot Mobile, you can. It's time for you to sign up for the Patriot Mobile primary phone plan with plans as low as $15 a month, where you can have 2 numbers and 2 networks on one single phone. And right now, if you sign up using the promo code REASON, you can get an entire month absolutely free. It's the Patriot Mobile One plan. 1 phone, 2 numbers, and 2 networks. And it's all at patriotmobile.com/reason. Again, patriotmobile.com, and use the promo code REASON. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own Voice of Reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media.
What fuels the freedom to dream bigger? Our country's greatest breakthroughs were born from bold ideas and the ability to take one small step forward. At Americans for Prosperity, freedom and opportunity find their defenders. Because our country's next giant leap is just around the corner. Are you ready to step up?
Hey, the live show may be almost over today, but it doesn't have to be for you. As always, enjoy the Voice of Reason with our daily podcast by finding the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser on any of your favorite podcasting sites. Just find us, subscribe, have it automatically downloaded, and listen at your convenience whenever you want to bring some more reason into your day. And a lot of people are doing it. Also, you can always find the video of the show, along with articles, additional commentary, and maybe a few sarcastic remarks by following us on our social media. Stay up to date with everything going on with the show, including upcoming guests, breaking news stories, interesting articles, and maybe some memes. Help us in the ongoing battle with censorship and shadow banning from social media by following us on the social media at Hooser Reason on all of our social media sites. For all these social media links, podcast links, contact information, or just general information of the show, go to our website at HooserReason.com. There you can listen live every day, read our latest monthly blog, find our radio affiliate list, or even listen to our latest infomercials and special content. Plus, you can always reach out to the program by sending me a message on social media, emailing us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com, or sending an email through our website at HooserReason.com. Whether it's content on the show, whether it's a guest that you've liked or disliked, or whether you want to disagree with me, and disagreement's always appreciated. While you're there, make sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter. Each month, you'll get the latest update on the show, updates from the Hooser Media Network, and our latest blog discussing topical issues of the day. Finally, if you want to help support the show, become a member of our Patreon site and help us fight for the cause of truth, reason, and common sense every day, and get more of the same by becoming the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Get additional interviews that sometimes we don't always get to air on the radio. Hear our special segments or even our infomercials before anyone else, and have a chance to chat with other great Hoosier-holics from all over. By becoming a Patreon subscriber, you're not only helping the fight for conservative values, you're helping us get more content and information out through the Hooser Media Network. Find out more information online at HooserReason.com. Lastly, follow and support all of our partners with the show. The Voice of Reason has been growing more and more every year, and it's because of so many great partners helping us get the message out to you. From show partners to local radio affiliates in your area to streaming sites, podcasting sites, and more, we have so many supporters and listeners now than ever before, and we want to thank you. It's time to bring back common sense, and we do it right here every day with the Voice of Reason.
America's safe space for common sense. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
And Tara, and some of you are in danger. I mean, you're actually in danger. It's hard to believe. But we're working with you to do whatever we have to do. We'll use missiles. If you want us to use a missile, they're extremely accurate.
Here it comes.
Boom. Right into the living room.
Still, best comment I think I've ever heard from President Donald Trump, and boy, is it going to be used so much. Hey, guess what? The UFC fight's on. Where's Daddy?
Boom. Right into the living room.
That's right. That's what we're doing. That's what we're talking about. Kent Strang on the line with us right now, managing director for Americans for Prosperity, americansforprosperity.org. Ken, did you know that? I mean, we're excited. Hey, where are we going to be?
Boom. Right into the living room.
I love it. That was Donald Trump at the Shield of America's convention in Miami over the weekend, talking about their ending of the cartels. And again, you talk about security here in the United States with the drugs, drug trafficking and gun trafficking and human trafficking. I mean, this is just another initiative to say, hey, we're making America safe and getting bad people out of the nation to allow us to live our prosperity and the lives that we want to, right?
Well, I think it's another example. We've talked a lot about the working families tax cut and the one big beautiful bill and all the pro-growth tax implications, but I think it's a great reminder to Americans that it also was a pro-border bill, that it gave additional resources to the border. It put more men and women on border patrol. It increased the technology to the border and had a lot of pro-border elements to that bill to make sure, again, the failures of the Biden administration to help secure our border, make sure that Americans are safe. And so I think it's something that we just need to continue to remind folks of, that, there's a lot of pro-growth tax provisions. There's a lot of money that's going to be put back into Americans' pockets. That's all wonderful, but it's also a pro-border bill, and I think that Americans should remember that as they remember what their members of Congress voted for in the working families tax cut.
Yeah, it's what it's all about. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security from that one big beautiful bill. We're already, apparently, according to reports that we've seen, that tax rebates and tax returns are actually higher this year already than what they have been in the past few years, which is really good news. We got a few minutes left here, Kent. Let's talk about the word on the street. You guys are the dominant ones right now doing the boots on the ground, the grassroots campaigning, things that conservatives are traditionally very good at, to talk to people directly and relate to them them directly. What's been the word on the street? What is the priority that people want to see right now?
Well, you're 100% right. We talk to voters every single day at their doorstep, on their phone, at events. We just talked about to Americans about affordability in a poll. And as we mentioned before, the cost of living continues to dominate voters' priorities. 37% of Americans say it's their top priority. And when they say, what does that mean? They're talking about household expenses, utilities, food, healthcare, and housing. But here's what's fascinating. Voters believe that government actions raise prices, and they believe that the price of government outweigh the cost. And they want better economic fixes. They don't want government control. They want competition. They want free markets. And so I think it's a great reminder as we start moving into the discussions around midterms that what taxpayers don't want is they don't want more government control to solve our problems.
Yeah.
They want free, fair competition to drive free market solutions because they know that's what actually works. And so we need to remind folks of that as we go in, that the free markets solve problems better than government control. And that invisible hand that we talk about does a way better job of lowering prices than price controls. And so I think it's always great to remember that as we're moving into midterms. And so pro-growth tax policies, putting more money back in individuals' pockets because they know what to do with it much better than government does, is always good policy.
The invisible hand of Adam Smith, my friend, and we got to get back to that kind of policy, which is really exciting. And by the way, we just saw a report over the weekend that January's numbers of job growth, 147,000 growth in the private sector, negative 40,000 jobs in the public sector, and right now the size of government based on employees is down to the lowest level that we've seen since 1966. Kent, I think that's some really good numbers, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't want to see the government continue to grow. I want to see the size and scope of government shrink. I want to see the private sector grow, private sector jobs grow. And again, when you have a working families tax cut that allows small businesses to be able to reinvest in their business, deduct and depreciate 100% of their machinery, what are they going to do with that? That means they're going to invest in their company. They're going to bring on more employees. They're going to expand. That's going to raise all ships. That's good for business. It's great for America, and it's great for Main Street.
We're moving in the right direction. We have a lot of work to do and a long ways to go, but we're moving there, and it's really exciting. Kent Strang, go check him out, AmericansForProsperity.org. You can go check out all their great information. Kent, always great to talk to you, my friend. We love having you on the show. Got to do it again soon.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Always good stuff. We'll get him back on again soon. Until then, back at it again on Tuesday. Be your own voice of reason. Be that catalyst for change. We'll see you back here on the Voice of Reason. Bye. As you know, I'm always looking for a good snack, but it's hard to find good quality snacks without all the unhealthy additives. But now that problem is over. It's time to enjoy J&S